G'day, I'd like you all to take a moment to watch this video. Now, I've done this video because I do video. That's what I do. I like to let people see the passion that goes behind some of the stuff. So bear with me for a few moments of your valuable time, because I hope I can help you in respect to the Leith Place situation. Now, I'm sure most of you know, but I've got a long background as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, as a marketer, as a problem solver. All my life, I've been a professional problem solver. When I see a problem, I work very hard to come up with a solution, and I don't usually criticize unless I can offer what I believe is a better option. And in this case, I have been a strong critic of Leith Place right from the beginning. I saw many issues with the Leith Place situation, and my comments have gone largely unlistened to and unresponded to. But unfortunately, they seem to be coming to fruition. I seem to have been a prophet in this. I suggested that it was not a good use of ratepayers' money, and I also told the mayor that I believed it would go over budget, and she promised me it couldn't because that's all the money we've got. But it's gone over budget, and which means either it's going to be stopped or there's going to have to be new money found. So I knew this would go over budget and over time, because every major project that the council does ends up this way. We had the Lake Moananui revitalisation, where it was going to be completely dredged out and the dam fixed and the whole thing was going to be fine. $640,000 was budgeted, $1.2 million was spent, and we didn't achieve the results. There was a tiny channel through Lake Moananui. It was not dredged, so last summer, massive algae problems, and the weed is returned. So all those things this was supposed to address failed, and twice over budget. We've got the rail siding. Now, we were told that was going to be a $1.2 million project. Last time I looked, it was $1.9 million. And I've seen no evidence to back up the claims of all the jobs, the 36 jobs that were going to be created. I haven't seen evidence of that. There's anecdotal, oh yes, it's done wonders, but where is the actual post-project implementation report that shows how close or how well this project met its goals? Because if you don't compare outcomes to goals, you don't know how to fix things and change things and improve your game. We haven't done that. We've got the pensioner housing was supposed to be wonderful and done in 6 months or whatever it was. It's gone over budget, it's gone over time, it's delivered fewer units, I think, than were originally proposed. I could be wrong. But again, it's another project embarked on by council which has not lived up to the promises in some way, shape or form. And this happens again and again and again. So it was only natural that Leith Place would fail in exactly the same way. It would cost too much and it would not deliver on the promises. And the thing that worries me most is that nobody seems concerned about this. I know Bill Machin, I think, has mentioned at one stage that he wanted to see whether we're learning from our failures. But obviously we are not. We are just accepting them and moving on, and that means the next project will be just as problematic as the last one. As elected members, you have to demand a higher level of performance from the staff that work in council. The previous CEO, I said, honestly, he was a waste of space. When I met Craig Hobbs, I invited him to my workshop here, and I said, Craig, this is what I can do for the town. And his response was, I don't think social media is important. From that moment, I knew that Craig was someone who was not flexible. He was not adaptable. He would not learn in his position and embrace the changes necessary to make this town work, because he came from radio. And if you're from a radio background, yeah, social media is not important. It's your enemy. It is the thing that you're competing against. But he was unwilling to say, right, this is an opportunity to use that now. No, Craig was, I'm sorry, he was a smarmy smile and a well-pressed shirt. And I've heard that from many people. That's my honest opinion. Honest opinion. I'm allowed to express honest opinions. So that's who I am. That's where I come from. That's what we're dealing with at the moment. And I would like to offer you what I think is a better vision for Leith Place. One that will address the concerns of the public, because at the moment the public are not at all pleased. Serendipitously or just coincidentally, the revaluations of properties have come out at the time that they've been told that Leith Place is going to cost $850,000 more than was budgeted, and they're all saying that's going to put our rates up and our valuations put our rates up. They're not happy. They're not happy that their rates are going to go up because they're not getting any more for their money. There's no improvement in services or anything. It's the same old thing for more money. So you guys are on a hiding to nothing. You need to address that. You need to get out there and come up with a better solution. Something that shows that you are not just a bunch of people sitting in a room cut off from the rest of the community, making your mind up without full information, full knowledge, and without being prepared to critique the information given to you. Because that seems to be where this whole thing started. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Visitor Solutions report on which this whole project was based. And it is a report fraught with mistakes, fraught with inaccuracies. It is ridiculous. I don't know why anyone hired this company to do this. It beggars belief, because they've fed you a line. For a start, the numbers they gave you, and I raised this with Craig Hobbs at the public meeting. I think it was 10,000 vehicles a day past Tokoroa on State Highway 1. Now watch behind me. This is a camera I set up on State Highway 1 this morning, and it's very busy. There's lots of vehicles going past Tokoroa on State Highway 1, but you'll note that quite a high percentage of them, keep looking, quite a high percentage of them are truck and trailers, commercial vehicles, business vehicles. These are not vehicles that are going to stop if they see something fancy on the side of the State Highway 1 and go and buy a fridge. They're not the target audience for this attempt to bring people into the town. They are never going to stop if they see a fancy building. They're not. What percentage of that traffic is those vehicles? Well, it's probably between 10 and 20%. 10 and 20%. So the 10,000 figure, that was touted by Visitor Solutions suddenly becomes maybe 8,000. That's a bit less than they promised. But then you've got to look at the other thing. I raised this with Craig at the public meeting. That's the total number of vehicles that pass Tokoroa in a 24-hour period. But our businesses are not open to take their money except during business hours. So what percentage of those vehicles, the 8,000 remaining vehicles, pass during business hours? 9 in the morning to 5 at night. Well, I would reckon it would be less than half, because it is a main highway. There's a lot of overnight traffic. There's a lot of people going to and fro, commuting through the district. So we might have, of the 8,000, we might have 3,000 people vehicles that actually qualify to be grabbed by the scruff of the neck and pulled into town to spend their money. That is 3 times less, over 3 times less than the Visitor Solutions report suggested, because they ignored those factors. They did not look at the demographic breakdown and the temporal breakdown of the numbers. So we were sold a pup. I challenged it. Craig dismissed my challenge. I mean, seriously, why would you not take that into account if it means that your figures are out by a factor of 3? And also, a lot of the justifications given in that report, they used case studies in American towns. This is not America. We have a totally different culture, a different society, a different economy to America. In America, the majority of people buy their breakfast. Yes, they do. They buy a breakfast on the way to work. I don't think many people in Tokoroa buy their breakfast. New Zealand, we have a culture, we get the cornflakes out, we get the porridge out, we make our own breakfast. So suddenly, people passing by are not a candidate for stopping and buying breakfast. So that immediately also distorts the figures. All the numbers that were given to you by Visitor Solutions are based on the wrong models. So we have based the whole Leith Place redevelopment on a pile of bullshit, basically. This report was flawed, incredibly flawed. I challenged it. Nobody was prepared to listen to my challenge. That's unfortunate. But that means that even if you do succeed with your wow factor building and get people off the highway, you're not going to get anywhere near the number of people that you might think you were going to get. And let's talk about that wow factor, shall we? I cannot believe that you people honestly think that a fancy glass building on the side of State Highway 1 is going to revitalise our CBD. Seriously. Wow factor. We already have wow factor. We had, until the other day, the Spirit Man. That was a unique carving. Unique in the whole of the country. There's no other town or city anywhere in the country has anything that I've seen that looks remotely like that. People have come long distances to look at that thing. And that is attracting. That is the wow thing. If you pass by Tokoroa, you go, wow, look at that. And you might stop. We've got the Chainsaw Man. It's another unique thing. And another word that's been bandied about by you people is iconic. We want an iconic building. Do you get a dictionary? Look up what iconic means. It obviously doesn't mean what you think it means. It means characteristic of or representative of. How the hell does a glass-walled building represent the people, the cultures, the society, and the history of Tokoroa? Doesn't. This is a culture, a town. It's multicultural. We've got Polynesian, we've got Islanders, we've got Filipinos, we've got people from all over the world. Glass-walled building doesn't represent them in any way, shape or form. It's not characteristic of them in any way, shape or form. Most of the people in this town, most of the working people live in converted workers' cottages. They work in anything but a contemporary structure. They live in anything but a contemporary structure. Their houses tend to be fairly low cost, which is why Tokoroa has been attracting a lot of low income people. They can afford to live here. That's not glass buildings. That's not amphitheatres. It's not representative of this town at all. It is not iconic. You don't even understand what the word means. You bandy it about as if it's really important. It's not. We have already two iconic things, two wow factor things. We had the Spirit Man, that's iconic. It's made of timber, for Christ's sake. This is a timber town. This town was built on the forestry industry, and that was a tree carved out of wood into a spirit thing. That is iconic. That is wow. The proposed building is not wow. It's not iconic. And think about it for a moment. We've got two of the wowest things in the country sitting there in Leith Place already. We did have. And did people flock in and buy fridges and washing machines and things from all around the North Island? No, they didn't. They didn't, because Tokoroa has another thing working against it. We're never going to enrich our CBD by getting people off State Highway 1. People passing through Tokoroa are doing just that. They're passing through. They're not coming here for a reason. And even if you give them a reason to stop, if they're coming from Hamilton, they're not going to stop in Tokoroa to look at your wow building and then go and buy a fridge or a washing machine or a lawnmower, because our CBD doesn't offer them the low prices, the selection of products, or any other benefit, any other advantage over shopping in their own local town. In fact, a lot of people from Tokoroa go to Rotorua, or they go to the base in Hamilton, or they go to Taupo to buy their home appliances and the things that you want people to buy here, because they can get them cheaper. They've got a wider range. They're in stock. So it defies logic that someone would come from one of those well-provided cities to buy something here for a higher price and a much smaller selection, especially when you factor in the mileage. Petrol's not cheap. They have to travel to come to Tokoroa. If you've got to do a 100 or a 200k round trip to come to Tokoroa and buy your fridge, it's a bloody expensive fridge. So it's not going to happen. You've been sold a pup. This is just not going to happen. People may stop, but they're not going to spend their money in the CBD. Now, I went down to Leith Place. Let's assume somebody stops. Let's say that they are tricked into stopping by a wow building, even though they wouldn't stop for the Spirit Man or the Chainsaw Man. This wow building, they think, what's going on here? So they stop, get out of their car, look at the building, then they turn around and look at the front of town, at the front of Leith Place, which used to be nicely shielded with trees, and it was a sylvan splendour. It was shady in the summer, so you could sit at those little tables and have a bite to eat or a cold drink and get out of the sunlight. No, they're going to turn around and look what they're going to see. Well, what can they spend their money on? Well, they could buy a AA battery from Noel Leeming. That would always be a good thing to do. They might buy a pie from Ronnie's. Yes, they could buy a pie from Ronnie's. They could buy some fish and chips from Kiwi Takeaways. They could get some money out of the wall through an ATM. And, well, they could book some travel with the travel agent, or buy a packet of aspirin from the chemist. But there's nothing there. There is no retailer in Leith Place that's going to really encourage them to part with their money, unless they're just a bit peckish. Then they might just go down the road to McDonald's anyway, because McDonald's is a known quantity, and a lot of people prefer to buy Macca's because they know it's the same all over the country. If you go into some provincial pie shop, who knows what you're going to get. So really, what is the point of luring them off State Highway 1 at great expense, at $4 million, to have them buy a pie at Ronnie's and then bugger off again? It's a waste. It's a waste of ratepayers' money, and I think ratepayers are waking up to that. And as I say, getting things in order is important. Look what happened at the Blue Springs. At the Blue Springs. You went out and you promoted the Blue Springs. Come and look at the Blue Springs, natural, splendid wonder. And then when people came, you didn't expect it. You were, oh my God, what's happening? There's too many people. There's parking, there's traffic problems, the bank's subsiding. Oh no. You opened the door before you'd prepared your infrastructure and your back end. You haven't prepared your back end. So you ruined the experience. And you completely cocked it up. You excuse my French, but you did. You stuffed it up because you opened it before it was ready. If you had your head screwed on, you would have made sure that when they came, everything was ready for them. And that's what you're not doing with Leith Place. You're going to be hauling people in, and then there's nothing for them to do, see or buy. You're wasting that $4 million opportunity that you're creating. You're wasting it because you should be doing the back end first, getting things all ready so when they come off State Highway 1, people are all lined up with what they want so that they can part with their money. And that will enrich the CBD, but it's a very difficult. How are you going to do that? It's incredibly hard. It's a chicken and egg, because the shops aren't going to. We're not going to get more shops. We're not going to get more choice. We're not going to get lower prices until we have the foot traffic. But we're not going to get the foot traffic until we have the reason for them to walk the town. And there isn't a reason at the moment. This is something that is a problem that we need to solve before we start spending huge amounts of ratepayers' money. Right, so one of the ways that we help separate people from their money when we get them into Tokoroa is to make them stay longer. The longer they stay, the more inclined they are to go wandering around town and spend a bit of money. So how are we going to make them stay? I mean, if you get off to look at a building, you look at the building, that's great. Should we go down there? No, this is Tokoroa. We could get mugged or something. Let's go. That's going to be the mindset we're dealing with. So what are we going to do? Well, I think we have to give them a reason to stay. We need to provide them with something that they need, not necessarily something they want, because that's discretionary. You can always say no to something you want, but if it's something you need, you have to buy it and you have to do what is involved. And if you look up and down State Highway 1 around Tokoroa, what do you spot? What do you spy? What can you see here? What is the thing that stands out? Yeah, BP, Gull, Mobil, Challenge, petrol stations. Tokoroa, the vast amount of money that's spent in Tokoroa by people passing on State Highway 1 goes into these petrol stations. Because people, they don't stop because they want to. They stop because they have to. If they don't refill, they run out of fuel. And that's it. And while they're there, they buy a pie and they buy a Mars bar or whatever. But they're only there for a few minutes. They don't buy much. But that is a must-have. That's a need, not a want. We've got to focus on providing people with a need so that they will stop because they have to. And they will stay there for a length of time because they have to. And how are we going to do that? Well, this is good. I know some of you are going to say, no, Herman might agree with this. But I know some of you are going to be a bit, oh, that would never work. Well, listen to me while I explain it. Electric vehicles. Electric vehicles. They're the future of road transport in New Zealand. They're already becoming more widespread than you might think. Every week I see 2 or 3 Teslas, and I'm not on State Highway 1. I'm just transiting to the airfield and coming back. I see 2 or 3 Teslas on State Highway 1 as I'm just driving the short distance from Moffat Road to, to Balmoral. It's only a few hundred metres, and I have seen Teslas on the road. There are a growing number of electric vehicles in New Zealand, and the most important thing is that growth is exponential. It's not just a straight line, it's a curve, it's exponential. The uptake of EVs in New Zealand is absolutely astounding, and there are figures produced by government, I think it was, which says that by 2022 there will be 64,000 EVs in New Zealand. And most of them will be in the North Island, and most of those will be in Auckland. And most of them will be in the hands of people who earn a higher than average income. And they have a high discretionary income. And many of those will be the kind of people who travel down to the mountain in the winter to go skiing, or travel down to Lake Taupo in the summer to their batch, or to go fishing, or whatever it is. And they'll be passing by Tokoroa. And goodness me, wouldn't you know it? We happen to be in the prime position. If you're travelling from Auckland to Taupo or further south, we are in a prime position to act as a must-stop refuelling or recharging centre for electric vehicles. They won't have an option. If they want to get where they're going, they have to stop here and recharge because the range on those vehicles is relatively limited. So what's better than having people stopping in Leith Place to recharge their vehicle and having to sit around for 30 minutes to an hour while that happens? What are they going to do? Well, they're going to wander through town, aren't they, to ease the boredom. They won't just buy a pie and sit outside and wait another 30 minutes. They'll wander around the shops. And if the shops are open, then they may buy something. That's our best chance. That is our best chance. If you want State Highway 1 traffic to enrich in the CBD, that's our best chance. And also, it becomes something of an iconic thing. Well, you like this word iconic. You like iconic. Well, let me use it in this context. We are not just a timber area. We are a power area. The Waikato River skirts the borders of the South Waikato, and we've got Atamuri, we've got all these other dams on the Waikato. We are an energy district. A lot of energy comes out of this district, electrical energy. So if we put in supercharging stations in Leith Place, it is iconic of the district because it represents our position on the generation grid for New Zealand's power. That is iconic. But the thing is that you were planning to put in some EV charging stations, 1 or 2 charging stations. No. That's just, there are charging stations in Taupo, there's charging stations in Tauranga, there's some in Hamilton. We need to put in 10 supercharging stations right on the edge of State Highway 1. And then we become the place to stop and recharge your vehicle. Because if someone's heading to Taupo, they may have enough range to get to Taupo and beyond. But if they're driving past Tokoroa and they see, wow, look, there are 10 supercharging stations and 5 of them are available. If we stop here, we can charge straight away, no delay. That's a much better option than getting all the way to Taupo and finding you're in a queue of 5 cars for the 1 supercharging station or the 4 supercharging stations that are there. So also because we're on State Highway 1, they don't have to deviate off their track. If you want to stop in Taupo, you can't use the bypass. You've got to go into Taupo and charge. But here, they just cross State Highway 1 into Leith Place, recharge, buy a fridge, washing machine and a lawnmower, jump back in the cars and continue their journey. So you might think, well, that's a lot of money, isn't it? These recharging stations, and it doesn't benefit locals, blah, blah. Well, hang on a minute. You guys have got it all wrong. It's obvious. As I say, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman. I'm a marketer. No matter what you do in business, you've got to sell it to somebody or you're not going to make any money. It doesn't matter whether it's a service or a product. You've got to be out there pitching it to somebody because if they don't buy it, you don't get the money in. So what we've got to do is say, look, we've got some really valuable real estate here on the side of State Highway 1. Tesla, Nissan, who is it? Hyundai, all these companies now are bringing out electric vehicles. Jaguar, Ford, they're all bringing out electric vehicles. And if you look at those signs on State Highway 1, you know, Mobil and BP and Gull, they're using that as a fantastic marketing tool. That sign is marketing their product to every vehicle that passes. So if we go to Tesla, we go to Nissan, we go to Ford, we go to all the other EV manufacturers and say, look, you can put a supercharger in Leith Place and we won't charge you any ground rent for the first 5 years. It'll be completely free. Completely free. You provide the infrastructure, you put it in. After 5 years, we'll go in there and we'll do your deal. We'll do a revenue share with you. So we'll get a clip on the ticket. Every kilowatt hour of energy you sell into an electric vehicle, we want so many cents or so much percentage of your turnover. That means they will come if you market to them properly, because this is not only the ability to extend their network in a very convenient place on State Highway 1, which makes it easier to sell their EVs, that's a big plus. It markets their EVs to all the passing traffic because they've got their big signs up, right? It says, people travelling on State Highway 1, they'll say, wow, look, there's a Nissan recharging station. If I buy a Nissan, I know I can recharge in Tokoroa. That's a massive benefit to the manufacturer, because those people will think, I'm going to buy a Nissan because I know where I can get it charged when I'm travelling down to Taupo. That's a benefit. The marketing value of that key property on the side of State Highway 1 should never be underestimated. So with the growth expected to be exponential, this is incredibly valuable. So you don't pay to put a charging station in there. You go out there and you get them for free. You go to these EV companies and you strike a deal. You need someone who knows how to market, who knows how to sell, who knows how to do a really tough deal, who can put the screws on these people, not someone who sits behind a desk all day shuffling paper like your average council worker. It's not going to work. Not councillors who have never been involved at that level of negotiation with large corporations. You need somebody who knows how that works, who knows how to push the right buttons, pull the right strings, and to sell them on this idea. Then they will come to Tokoroa and they will use their money to make Leith Place a must-stop destination on State Highway 1. Ratepayers don't have to spend a penny, not a cent, and suddenly people will be stopping for 30 to 60 minutes at a time in our town and going into CBD. So if you think they're going to come to Tokoroa for any reason and buy a fridge, washing machine and lawnmower, this is the cheapest way to do it. And it future-proofs our town. It really does. The number of EVs on our roads is just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And eventually all the traffic will be electrically powered. And that means the draw card of these superchargers is going to get more and more powerful. It's not like a building you put up today and in 6 months everyone's seen it and its wow value is nothing. Forget about wow value. Forget about needs. The needs of the people driving electric vehicles. That's what will bring them into Tokoroa. And that's what we need to do. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. Stop spending money on stupid buildings and chopping down the things that iconify this town, like the trees and so forth. Just go back to basics, right? Plant some more trees, put some artificial shade up because people need it. Don't take out any car parks. Just turn 10 or 12 of them into EV supercharge stations. Speak to the car companies, sell them on the concept. Go out there and pitch it to them and explain the benefits and counter their objections and close the deal so they come to Toke and invest their money in bringing people here to recharge their vehicles. You've got to think smart. It's very tempting, I suspect, if you're in council, you think we've got this ratepayers' money, we can spend it and get this benefit. But that should be your last option, is spending ratepayers' money. Your first option should be to help others spend their money to improve the town. That's what you've got to do. And that requires smart thinking. Smart thinking. You've got to think really clever. Don't just spend, but spend other people's money. Encourage them to spend here. That's what you need to do. And then you are benefiting ratepayers, because that's $4 million that they don't eventually have to pay for from somewhere. Isn't that great? So that's what I suggest you do. It'll also put Tokoroa on the map, because all EV users have a map which show them where the charging stations are. And believe it or not, there are very few of them on State Highway 1. There are some in Hamilton, but they're at motels or a lot of what is it? I forget the name of it, but the internet service where you can book rooms in people's houses and things. A lot of them have EV charging stations, but on State Highway 1 there are very few of them. So we need to capture that market, get in soon, own that market, and people will know Tokoroa. Tokoroa is where we charge our EV on the way heading south. That's what we do. And as I say, these people with higher than average discretionary income, they can spend more money while they're here than the average guy who's just getting $40 worth of petrol at BP. And of course, as EVs grow, petrol stations will decline. But if we have the EV superchargers in, then when BP decides to put it as a supercharger, well, old school, mate, this is already, Leith Place is the place to go. And if people are stopping, they won't want to stop at BP, which is 500 metres from the CBD and have to walk all that way. They'll stop in Leith Place, where the CBD is about, 100 metres away. That's what you do. Anyway, that's my thoughts. As I say, I am a problem solver. I don't like to criticise without offering solutions. I believe my solution is a very good one. Stop the spend now. You've already done enough damage. You've crippled Leith Place. It's a bloody mess, I have to say. You should be ashamed of yourselves for what you've done. Stop the spend now. Just tidy it up. And the toilets? Well, the toilets. What are you going to do about the toilets? I'll tell you what you do about the toilets. You give them a coat of paint, tar them up a bit, and then you hire 2 full-time attendants. You create 2 jobs in Tokoroa. Now that is putting ratepayers' money into the community, because those people will spend that money in the town, so you're enriching the CBD. But yeah, the problem we have with the toilets is that some of the people in this town have no respect or no pride in themselves or their town, and they make a shitty mess in the toilets. That's bad image for the town. So you hire 2 people in shifts so that the toilets are always clean and they're always well provisioned, and there's somebody there to help people if they need it, right? That's what you do. 2 jobs, minimum wage jobs, not a lot of money compared to the 4.8 million you were looking at spending, tiny amount of money, and it's money that goes into the community. And it means that people will stop in Tokoroa because they will know those toilets are always clean. There's always somebody there keeping them clean, making sure they're pristine and sanitary. It's another draw card. It's not a wow factor, but it is a need. People need to go to the toilet. It's not discretionary. So that alone will also bring people in. At the moment, people won't stop in Toke because the toilets are shitty. Change that. It brings people in. It's a lot cheaper to hire 2 people to work shifts and to put a coat of paint on that toilet than it is to build a big monument that you can put your names on a brass plaque on. So think on that one. I think that is the best thing we can do to keep Leith Place going, and put the Spirit Man back up. He's our wow factor. He is our wow factor. There are probably plenty of ways. If you go and talk to the right people, you could probably get resin injection into that timber to preserve it. You don't need to make a cast to make a new one. Get it treated. They can use pressure resin injection, and they can preserve wood for eternity. Look at petrified forests. I mean, they've been around for thousands of years. You can preserve wood in many ways. So although there may be a little bit of core rot in that Spirit Man, from what I've heard, he is sufficiently structurally intact for him to be preserved using resin injection techniques, and we can put him back up, and there's your wow factor. It hardly costs you a bean. So there you go. I hope that this has been of some value to you. Did I miss anything else? I put some stuff down here. Yeah, no, that's it. If you've made it to the end of this video, good on you. Thanks for watching. And I hope you'll take it on board. And I'm a strong critic, but as I say, I don't criticise unless I think I've got something better to offer. So key points in closing: don't spend money on Leith Place. Work smarter. Get it so that other people, businesses or whatever, are spending their money to improve Leith Place. Don't put the burden on ratepayers when you don't have to. Some of these businesses out there, if you pitch it properly to them, they will jump at the opportunity to have key prime position right on the side of State Highway 1 and build facilities that will improve the sales of their product and the service to their customers. Oh, it's a no-brainer. There you go. Now, if you've got questions or comments, you know how to get hold of me. If you'd like me to speak at your little meeting on Thursday, then by all means, contact me and I'll be happy to answer questions, put a presentation forward if you like, but probably not much more than you've seen here. I suspect, however, that few of you will have made it to this point, and unfortunately it's a characteristic of this council that it's more about people than what they have to offer. But there you go, I've done my best. People can't say I'm just a knocker. I have put forward a concrete, solid proposal. I hope I pointed out to you the reasons why this thing has gone so badly and why it is doomed to failure no matter what you do if you honestly believe that people are going to come off State Highway 1, buy a fridge, a lawn, a washing machine and a lawnmower. Not going to happen. So you have to spend your money in other places. One of those places would be providing housing. The only way the CBD will grow and prosper is if there are more local people spending their money there. As I say, people aren't going to come from Hamilton. They're not going to come from Rotorua. They're not going to come from Tauranga to buy things in our CBD. The people who buy things in our CBD are locals, people who live in the district. They will buy stuff there. But to live in the district, you've got to have a house and you've got to have a job. So the council should be focused on not spending money to create jobs, not spending money to build houses, but acting smart and creating a climate where other people gladly come and spend their own money to create houses, spend their own money to create new jobs. That's the difference between a good council and a bad council. Good councils use intelligent thinking and they use smart solutions. Bad councils just throw money at a problem and hope it'll go away. It never does. It never works. As you've seen with Leith Place. There you go. That's it. Enough for today. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your patience. I will see you again. Bye for now.